What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if it's your first time here. Well, yesterday I posted in my community section here on YouTube asking for video ideas. Yesterday evening I really had no idea what to make a video about, but I knew I needed to make one today because I hadn't made one in a few days, and I want it to be something that people will be interested in actually watching. So I asked a question in the community section: look for a new video sometime tomorrow. I'm not sure about the topic yet. Feel free to add your suggestions in the comment section below. As you can see here, I got 55 comments for suggestions for videos. And instead of trying to make, a video for each topic, I decided to do something different today and just go through these questions in this community section and just answer those here in this video. So let's get started. And guys, the first question is, how about the book Pale Horse? And he's talking about this book right here, Behold a Pale Horse by Milton William Cooper. And I put this on my website. You can not download, but you listen to this video on YouTube that narrates this whole book right here. Just go to my website, click this link to go straight to the video on YouTube to actually listen to the audio book. You can skip between chapters and listen which chapter you want to listen to. But overall, seems to be a great book. I'm about halfway through this right now, and so far it's extremely interesting. It's not a novel. It's not anything like that. It's not a fiction story. It's a book pretty much of facts and laws, regulations, and things that have been put in place to allow the government to take full control, to send Americans to essentially concentration camps. It's the whole globalist plan and how they laid it out to be able to take power legally. And it talks about secret societies and things like that. And like I said, so far I'm about halfway through this book, and I think it's worth reading. It's worth the time and effort to read this book, in my opinion. So I definitely recommend every one of you at least listen to this book, or at least go to that video on my website and click through and then look at the chapters and at least listen to the chapter to interest you. But overall, I think it's a great book, and it's free to listen to. And I think there's actually PDF downloads. You can find it online to download that for free to read that, on your tablet or your phone or whatever. And the next question: navigating monetarily through all this with investments, 401k, what to expect, how to safeguard all your assets. And I'm not, a financial advisor, so I can't give financial advice. However, any cash is losing value through inflation. Any cash in the banks can be confiscated and taken. So the first rule, in my opinion, is to have as much as you can where you can get a hold of it. If it's in the bank, like I said, it can be taken. And cash is losing value through inflation. So if you can turn that cash into something that holds value, like gold, silver, property, preps, and things like that, actual investments, actual tangible assets, then I think that is a great plus. You need to have some cash put back to pay, like taxes and things like that, an emergency fund in case something breaks, like in your automobile or something like that, maybe. But as far as just hoarding and stacking a lot of cash back, I don't recommend it at all. I recommend turning that cash into something else that holds actual value, because, like I said, inflation is eating away at the cash you have in the bank right now. And if it's in the bank, they can be like a cyber attack, which I think is actually coming, and they can say it was hit by Iran, for example, or Russia, for example, and the cyber attack wiped out all records, all banking records. So we have no idea now, who had what amount in the bank. So the only thing we can do is bring in this central bank digital currency and this universal basic income. And we'll figure this out eventually, but right now this is the solution we came up with, is the central bank digital currency and this basic income. And that's where they're going to bring this in, I think, and try to control everything is through a cyber attack, take the banking system down, and then bring in the digital currency and the guaranteed basic income to bring in this globalist cashless society and this control grid they put in. So, any cash you have, like 401ks, it's definitely not safe, and it's losing value all the time through inflation. So get what you can, have in hand, turn that into gold, silver, property, ammunition, firearms, tools, take training for skills and things like that. That's not financial advice, it's just what I would do and what I have been doing. So take it as, what you will. Sounds strange, but soil prep for good garden harvest would interest me. And I use a lot of raised beds. I have, I think it's 12 raised beds right now, and another garden spot on down the hill that's about 35 foot wide by about 60 foot long. And every year, at the end of the year, I add compost to the top of those raised beds. Then I also add straw on top of that to keep the weeds down and things like that all winter. And it will rain on that, it will snow, and that will break down over the months of winter. And then in springtime, I don't remove, all that straw that's not broke down and rotted into the soil and made the soil richer, which a lot of it has. But I will leave what's there and just like part it back and plant tomato plants and things in there like that, whatever I'm planting in that garden area, and just leave the hay there as a mulch, and it will keep on rotting and keep on supplying nutrients to the soil. Then after the harvest is over with, at the end of the year, I will again add more compost to that, a couple of inches of compost, and then more straw on top of that. Same thing next year. It's a repeating cycle over and over and over again, and it makes having better garden soil easy, actually, because you're just adding to what you already have and letting nature take its course. So that's the best way to do it, in my opinion. The end of motoring. Cars in the U.S. and throughout the West. No more freedom to travel, as there won't be any fuels. The Pentagon needs it all. If this was the case, and this does happen, have some good walking shoes. Try to get in shape, because you'll be walking pretty much everywhere. And biking. If you can afford, an electric bike, you might want to look into that. It's definitely easier than riding a traditional pedal type bike. But some good walking shoes, a regular bike, and maybe even a electric bike, or, in my opinion, all three, because you never know when something's going to break down. You might not be able to charge your batteries up for the electric bike. I mean, who knows what could happen. So if you can have both, and regular bikes are cheap enough, you can buy a good one and put that back for a few $100s and get a good regular bike. And you can get an electric bike to get them cheaper and cheaper all the time. I've done a few reviews on this channel about those, and they definitely will travel, make things a lot easier, a lot quicker, and they're actually a whole lot of fun. So get in shape, get some walking shoes. You'd be walking the situation here they're talking about, biking, and prepare to use muscle power to move yourself back and forth. You might, if you have the a farm, the land, the resources available to feed that, you might want to get a horse, something like that to ride. But there's different ways to do that. People made it for years and years and years and decades and pretty much forever by just riding horses and walking and things like that without the automobile. So we can do it again if we have to, but it's going to make everything, the whole world, smaller. Everything's going to be right there in your community if that was the case and you couldn't travel. You'd have no trains, no planes, no automobiles. I don't think it's going to happen, but if it did, everything would shrink down and everything would be like it used to be, pretty much slower, at a slower pace, the food grown more closely and more locally, and in a way that'd actually be a lot better. The new virus going around, MD, they're crop dusting us again. And I said this in a video a couple of days ago, don't worry about it until you see an actual virus with your own eyes. Not the actual virus, but you see the effects of an actual virus yourself on people that you know in your community, because we saw, I have to be careful here because this is YouTube, in the last pandemic, I saw on the news the hospitals was full. People were it was just overcrowded. People sick, dying. And, I could go past my local hospital, empty. The local doctor's offices and things, the emergency facilities here, nothing unusual. So I wouldn't have seen it with my own eyes. But when you see it with your own eyes, then you know you have a pandemic. If you see it with people you actually know in your community, you know you have a pandemic. If you just see the pandemic on the nightly news and the mainstream media and the talking heads, then use your brain and think about it, because they might not be being honest with you. I wish I could say more about this topic here on YouTube, but it's very, very tricky. You're walking on eggshells all the time. You talk about viruses and things like that and pandemics. But when you see it with your own eyes, then that's when you need to worry about it, in my opinion. Do you have any suggestions for hiding or securing supplies in case of a home invasion? What about hiding places also? Maybe a weird question, not sure. No, it's not a weird question. wondering if I should dig a hole at least big enough for me and some supplies. If you're digging a hole to hide in, I mean, you could have something like that maybe under your house. Maybe have a floorboard, like in a closet, some carpet could pull back, have a door, you could open it up to go under your house to hide maybe. In that case, you might not even need a hole in the actual dirt to hide supplies. Maybe you just go under your house to hide through a secret door or something like that. You could also hide, something like for supplies and things. If you have like an old freezer, a chest freezer, you could put that out somewhere and then fill it full of supplies and seal that up, make it good and watertight, and stack, firewood over top of that. So it looked like just a stack of firewood when you're looking at that. Maybe you could put in, fake walls you can move, that you could easily remove and have shelves behind those walls to put canned food and supplies and stuff like that in behind those walls. There's different ways to do different things. If you have, you have to look at your own circumstances and figure out where you can hide things at. Fake walls, like I said, if you have a barn, you can do the same thing with, build a secret room in the barn loft, for example, and stack hay around that, where it would look like just a big haystack, which is common, on farms and things. But that also has a possibility of being caught on fire because that hay is definitely something that can burn when it does catch. So that could be something to think about. There's different ways to do this. If you're worried about hiding supplies, you can get PVC pipe. And the 4 inches easier to find, 6 inches a lot better to find. If you can find 6-inch PVC pipe, that's great. But 4 inches is more common and easy to find. You can get that. You can cut that in like 4-foot, 5-foot sections and put a cap on one end and a clean out adapter on the other end and fill it full of supplies and then seal that lid back up and take a manual postal digger, for example, and go somewhere. It's easy to forget where you put it at because you're looking for a space this size, when you go back to try to find that. So be sure you mark that correctly and know exactly where that's at, or you'll never find it back. When you go in the forest, somewhere around your home, maybe you can dig a hole straight down in the ground, bury that pipe, cover it up, and have, hidden supplies on hand, firearms, ammunition, food, and things like that nobody can touch. That, if your house burns down, you have something to go back to, and you can have several of these, scattered out to your location as extra supplies. Okay, the next question is, could you please discuss the role of CBDCs, or central bank digital currencies, adoption in our economy? I don't think it's going to save things. It's going to make things a whole lot worse, in my opinion. Definitely not going to save anything. But I'm trying to learn more about it, thanks MD. And central bank digital currencies is, if they have that and cash available, you can use both. But that would be a lot better. But they're not going to do that. It's going to start out that way. More than likely, they'll have central bank digital currencies, and you can be able to use cash also. But then they will phase cash out completely. We're already seeing that happening right now. More and more people using cards and things like that to purchase with, and most places are accepting cash. And the whole point with the central bank digital currencies is to control, to monitor everything you do, everything you buy. And it's not a good thing, and it's not going to save anything. That's going to make things a whole lot worse. It's going to take privacy and power away from the individual and put that in the hands of these banks, these corporations that's going to have access, and these governments and things that's going to have access to all this information. So they're going to know everything you do, when you do it, and with the social credit score system they're putting in also along with this, they'll use that, the social credit score system, to fine you and things like that. If you run a red light through a camera system and get your tag, if you run a red light, for example, and they will automatically just take that out of your account. If you think you're buying too much junk food, they can stop you from buying that. If you've not been a good citizen, you post bad things online, they can make your dollar worth less than someone else that's a good citizen. So it's all, about control, and it's definitely not a good thing. We need to fight it any way that we can to get around that and not adapt that. But it's, in my opinion, it's going to happen. It's pretty much a done deal. So you need to figure out how to live, without using the central bank digital currencies if at all possible, or at least very limited usage. The fallout of which party winning 2024 is worse for us, and it doesn't really matter. That's, in my opinion, they're all corrupt. Both sides are corrupt. But if Donald Trump got appointed back in there or won the election, then I think the right would riot in the streets and throw a humongous fit. and burn things down and things like that. If Joe Biden gets in there again, or Michael Obama, or Gruesome Newsom, then I'll see the people on the right bitching and moaning and things like that, but not doing a whole lot. And then the left to keep on with this agenda of destroying the country. So, it's pretty much a toss-up. If a Republican got in there, especially Donald Trump, we would see stuff happen immediately. If another Democrat or Joe Biden was still alive long enough to get put back in there, and I would think we would see the same thing going on we're seeing now. We would see the effects happen as they're happening right now, with what they're happening with the open borders and things and everything going on right now, and just keep on continuing. They would be continuing what they started. And if the Republicans did win, especially Trump, we would see the left, especially in the major cities, rioting and looting and things like that. So, it's pretty much a toss-up in my opinion. Prepping for different scenarios, if things go down and you're at work and it's an hour away, you need to figure out, look at your maps and things, and figure out different ways to get home, because one way might be blocked. You want to have a good kit in your vehicle. And I had a video here, I posted it a few years ago, Urban Get Home Bag 2020, Urban Survival Kit for Preppers. And this kit, it's for urban survival, but it will work for anyone trying to get, from point A to point B to get back home. And I go through, you can see I look a little different there 3 years ago, but you can see here I go through the kit and talk about different things you need, including firearms, ammunition, accessories, and things like that in your vehicle. So it's a pretty good video. I'll link to that in the description box below. It's easier to look at that and watch the video than me trying to explain everything here in this video. China pneumonia in Ohio. I've not really looked into that. I heard about it supposedly found in Ohio. But again, like I said a minute ago, if I'm not seeing it myself with my own two eyes, I'm not going to worry about it and not going to put much faith in what I'm told through the mainstream media. So just keep an eye on it. If you see it yourself, like I said, then know there's a pandemic. What are your thoughts on Elon Musk? Do we need to be an interplanetary species, or is it a bad direction for us? Elon Musk is kind of a mystery. He acts and says some good things, but then he does some things that are like, what? Like the brain chips and things like that, and buying Twitter. And you're like, what's really going on here? Do I trust Elon Musk? No, not really. I don't trust any politician. I don't really trust anyone at all, especially anyone in the limelight, because they can be used, and they can be used, and usually are being used to manipulate the population and the people. So, who knows? As far as being an interplanetary species, I don't know enough about that to actually comment about that. But in my opinion, if anyone is going to be going to another planet, say this planet was going to be destroyed, and they're going to take certain people to another planet to live, to start over again, more than likely it's not going to be you or I. It's going to be people they handpick with super wealth that can buy their way on that space shuttle to get there. And it'll be people who are, scientists, doctors, engineers, and things like that they actually need, security and things, but more than likely it's not going to be you or I. It's going to be going off planet anytime, unless, when the Lord Jesus Christ comes back. And then there'll be a 1,000-year reign here on earth. But anyway, I don't know enough about that to actually comment a whole lot about that. But Elon Musk, he says some good things, but as far as actually trusting him, I don't trust him. I don't trust Donald Trump. I don't trust Joe Biden. I don't trust any of the Republicans, any of the Democrats. I don't trust any of them at all. I don't trust any of the mainstream media. I don't trust any celebrities, what they say, because they're all bought and paid for and used to manipulate the public, in my opinion. But you might disagree, and that's fine. And we have Dale here, High Plains Drifter, 98. Grid down and how much time before people start going insane. If the grid went down completely, it would be different depending on the location. The cities, urban areas, probably less than 24 hours. You'd see people breaking in, the businesses and things like that, stealing things. And within 2 days, if the power wasn't back on, you see rioting and looting and burning in the cities. It'd be a complete mess pretty quickly in the cities. In more rural areas, you would see it happen a whole lot more slowly. And it wouldn't be nothing like in the cities, I don't think. You would see probably more crime and things like that, more desperation with people. But I don't think it'd be like it is in the cities. But if within a week, no matter where you're at, you would definitely see crime increase, people panicking and things like that if the grid went down. So within a few days, a few hours, depending on where you are, to a week, you would see a huge change in people and the way they act. It wouldn't take long at all for violence to erupt and thefts to start and things like that. I mean, people get desperate very, very quickly. And if the power is off, no phone, no internet, no connection, everything down for a week, people go insane within the first week. How to trap small animals or some other skill you use. And I've talked about trapping in my books before, in the book 31 Days to Survival. I think that it is. Yeah, 31 Days to Survival. I put it in that book. I talk about trapping small animals. I give directions and photographs of how to build, a box trap. And the box trap is simply a box. You can bait inside the box. Animal will go in, and they hit a trigger, and the door closes behind. And then you have the animal trapped there. They're not hurt or anything like that. And you can go look and see what you have. And if it's something like a skunk that you don't want to eat, then you can get rid of that, without having to kill it. You can let it loose if you want to or something like that. But if it's something you want to eat, like a rabbit or a squirrel or something, you can go ahead and harvest the animal and eat that. So it's a humane way of trapping. You can buy, live animal trap, but you can make these pretty simply also. You need 4 pieces of lumber, about 12 inches by 1 inch thick, and 4 boards like that, 8-foot boards. You can make one of these traps. Just cut it in sections. The longer the section is usually better, but I like to make mine about 3 foot long. You can cut that and put sides. The top part is a little bit shorter. You put railings into the front where the door will fall down through. Cut a piece for a door. Put a groove at the top to hold the door up. Put the trigger down through. Again, it's in my book, and it might be on my website also. But when the animal goes in, trips the trigger inside, then shear lets go of the door just shuts down, and you have your animal trapped. And there's a screen behind on the back side, or you can put another door on there also. But anyway, there's plenty of books about this. I can't explain this talking in a video right here, but I put this in my books on my website also about making some traps. How about a video on how Americans are blinded to the fact that we live in a police state worse than North Korea, Nazi Germany combined, and we're definitely not a free country. We used to be more free than we are now. It's been kind of up and down, but we're not at the state yet of North Korea and Nazi Germany combined yet, but we will be. It's what they're working on. And as far as corruption goes, the United States is corrupt to the core. We have a corrupt federal government, corrupt media. I mean, it's bad corruption. And they can trigger pretty much any type of disaster and declare martial law, take everything over, and you will be worse than North Korea and Nazi Germany then combined. But right now, we're not to that point yet, I don't think, but we're definitely heading that way, or at least that's the way these globalists and these out-of-control, power-hungry government officials are wanting to take us. Do you recommend having a drone so you can see what is going on in the area? If so, what things should I consider if purchasing a drone? Distance, camera size, possible carrying capacities, etc. And I answered this comment back here. And like I said in the comment, I don't own a drone. I wish I did own a drone. I've not bought one yet. I've been looking at those, and I'd like to have one of those. But you want to get, from my research, and just common sense actually, the best one you can afford, with the best camera, and that you can afford to have on that drone. DJI makes good drones, make good cameras also. The action cameras are good. I have one of the action cameras, and it works great. But as far as drones goes, get the best you can buy. And, you might want to start out with a cheap one first to practice with it some and figure out kind of how they work. And if you like it, then you might want to spend some extra money to get a good one. And you can get a decent drone from my research now. Like I said, I've not bought one of these. I own one of these for about $600 to a couple of $1,000s for a good drone. And guys, on to the next question. I don't see much on radio communications and shit hit the fan. Recently, we set up a GMRS radio to communicate with family if we lose cell service or power battery backup. That might be helpful for some of us. And GMRS radios are definitely a good option in my opinion, because you can get up to 50 watt radios with those base stations. Typically it's 5 watts, but you can go up to 50 watts, but base station antennas get a lot of range out of that depending on your terrain and things like that. The Walmart radios are also GMRS, a lot of those are, and they give estimated ranges of like 30 miles. It's not true. Don't believe that crap. It's not true at all. Those radios at Walmart, you might get, those blister pack radios, you might get half a mile to a mile, depending on the terrain with those radios. But you're not going to get no 30 mile, 50 mile, 35 miles to try to advertise on that. It's just not going to happen. You typically get, a mile to about 5 miles, depending on the terrain with these handheld radios like this. You can get it further with some base station radios, and if you're set up right. But these here are one of the best, I think, models of handheld GMRS radios. This is the Ocean or Wuxon handheld radios. You can see it's very simple to operate. You can get some with a lot of buttons and things and a lot of different controls. But for me, these are the best because there's no programming. You buy this, you turn it on, and you're ready to go. It comes with a shorter antenna than this. I bought these extra to give it a little more push with the output, and these definitely help some. I can tell the difference of these antennas. Get 2 of these, or how many you need for your group, to talk back and forth. And I've taught myself here in this county with a lot of trees and mountains and hills and things. I've taught my just about 5 mile with these 2 radios apart, and they work really, really well. If you are like in the desert with really flat ground, you can see for miles, and you can talk, 5, 10, 15, 20 miles with these type radios if everything is just perfect. But typically you'll get, a mile to about 5 mile. It's good to get these and try these out to see how much distance you have. And like I said, you can get base stations up to about, I think it's 50 watts maximum output for the base stations. Whereas a typical CB radio is, I think it was 3.5 watts is what's legal in a citizen band radio. And these, you go to channel 16 and above, or 15 and above, I think that it is, it will put out the full 5 watt frequency. I'm not a radio expert. I don't geek out on these things like this. However, I like to keep things simple, and these are the simplest ones I found actually, and I really recommend this model of radio right here, GMRS radio, and I'll put a link to these in the description box below, so you can go check this out if you're interested in these. But the radio's like $100. And then 10 is about another $30. So you'll spend for 2 of these about $250 maybe. And in my opinion, they're actually worth it because they're good radios. Tribes, mags, teamwork, and structure. That's a big topic. And in my opinion, the best mag tribe is family. If you have a large family, like here where I am, a lot of families live in the same area, and you have pretty much a tribe right there. If you have a good family, and even if they're not all preppers, family will come together and support each other. So you kind of have pretty much a mutual defensive structure right there in place already. Again, depending on the family and things like that. But I think the best tribe mag is family. A large family, because you have that blood tie to tie everyone together. And, if you have a mag, be careful who you let in, because you don't know who's who. Vet everyone, and you want to be sure that if anyone has a criminal record, look at that very suspicious, depending on what it's for, and you might want to not have those people in your group. If anyone is trying to get you to commit crime, violence, more than likely that's an FBI agent in your group or an informant, so be careful of that. But overall, the best group is family, in my opinion. How to secure your rural property. And I have a playlist about this. That's a huge topic, but you want to have things like security cameras set up. You want to have things like game cameras set up to get photographs of people trespassing, things like that. A fence, if you can. Gates put up. You want to be armed. Dogs, drones. There's different things you can do to secure your property. But you need to know one of the most important things is to have warning of what's going to happen. If someone's getting close to your property, get those on camera, and you can take a look at your phone if it's still working, security cameras, and say, someone should not be here, they're trespassing. Or look at your, game cameras, for example. Check those, put those out, and check those every few days, and look at any pictures that's been taken, like on old roads and trails and things. Had those hidden so no one won't steal those, because that does happen sometimes. And you'll see if anyone's trying to scout out your property and things like that. But just be vigilant and know your property really well. If you have a large farm, you want to drive around that in ATV, 4x4, or whatever you need to drive around there, or walk it or whatever, and notice anything different, any trails, people's coming in, any junk laying around like cigarette butts, smoking, or someone's sat looking and watching and trying to figure out your patterns and routines. You can see where they've, threw down gum wrappers, Coke cans, beer cans, whatever, and that should be an alarm. That should send alarm bells off in your head to say, something's not going on here, something's not right. Someone's watching what I'm doing. So just keep your eyes open, stay vigilant, and put in security cameras and things like that, game cameras. You want to have, a good dog on your property, especially if you have a large farm or a couple of good dogs. And just be vigilant and keep your eyes open. How about why Dave Hodges on the Common Sense Show was erased off of YouTube? I don't know exactly the reason. He probably said the wrong thing, didn't go with their community guidelines. He probably had a few strikes already for not saying the right thing, or the thing that they want you to say. And most likely he was talking about the virus or the injection. That's what gets pretty much everyone. He has a website, I think. I was at his website probably a couple of years ago. I saw a link on Steve Quayle's website and clicked through. I watched a couple of his videos. Seemed like a good guy, good information, but he was kind of boring to me, and so I didn't really get into watching his videos a lot. But it's sad that YouTube erases anybody, that's not calling for violence or something like that, or committing crimes right on, YouTube. But they will get rid of you for stating the truth, actually, with facts, if it goes against the community guidelines. And usually, like I said, what gets everyone is talking about the virus, any health issues, or especially old jabby. How about if you have a get-home bag, what the contents look like? And I talked about that a minute ago in the video that I linked to in the description box below. You can check that out. How to not give up hope. That is a good question, and there's not really an easy answer, because it depends on your situation and your mental state. But I think prayer helps a lot. And I think prepping helps a lot, because if you prep and pray, you're as prepared as you can be, and for this life and the next life. So that allows you to keep up hope. But try to realize that things don't stay the same. Things do change. And I guess this person is talking about hope with, things getting better. And sadly, in my opinion, I don't think it's going to get back the way we think that it should be. It's going to keep getting worse and worse all the time, and they're going to keep taking more and more control all the time. And it is a depressing situation to be in. But if you pray, be saved, get baptized, pray, that will take care of the afterlife. And prep, get ready for everything here in this life, and that keeps hope up, because you're actually doing something, staying proactive, and actually making plans to do the best you can in a situation that they're trying to implement and force on everyone. I'm very concerned about drone warfare. Drones equipped with thermal imaging to locate targets who normally would go undetected. And I saw a video about this on YouTube that's very, very good, and it's a huge topic, and it would take hours to talk about this. I'm already over 30 minutes in this video right now, so I will try to find that video, and I'll link to it in the description box below. You can go watch the video, and it will give you some good information. I would love in-depth opinion of Behold a Pale Horse. I talked about that a minute ago already. How about your thoughts on the thousands of innocent civilians, mostly children, being killed by the good guys? And most people are, and he used quotes for good guys, most people are supporting it because they're ignorant. Seems the ones we're being who've been told to believe are the good guys might just be the bad guys, and we're basically the only country supporting them. What I feel sorry about for is the children. On both sides, on every side, it's the children and innocent civilians get caught up in this crap that goes on. They're talking about Israel and Gaza right here, and it's another topic, and be careful of what you say because you'll be taken off of YouTube. But, there is no good guys in my opinion on this. That's just my opinion. The good guys are the children, the innocent that hasn't done anything and getting murdered and killed by this. And we saw what happened with Hamas into Israel, and we weren't told the full truth about all that, I don't think. And they've used this for an excuse. Israel has to go into Gaza and do what they're doing right now. So it's not good at all. But I feel sorry for the children more than anything else. But with that said, let's go on to the next question. It seems YouTubers are at panic state. Calm down. Keep prepping. Don't spend what you don't have. How can you spend what you don't have if you go into debt? And I don't advise going into debt either. Take a deep breath. Enjoy the holidays and family. MD, the ball's in your court. Merry Christmas to all. Remember, it's a time of year and we celebrate Christ's birth. And that's definitely true, and we should be celebrating Christ's birth. But with everything going on, maybe it's time to not panic, but buckle down and realize this is serious and start paying attention, not thinking that some miracle's going to happen to make everything better, because in my opinion, it's not. So, knowing everything's going on and how they're trying to implement this globalist agenda and what it's going to consist of, it's very serious. I've not seen anyone panicking in a panic state, like running around. Maybe there's a couple that been panicking for years on YouTube here to get clicks and views, but overall, not really seeing anyone panicking. Just know how things are. Prep, but don't panic, because panic doesn't solve anything. But realize that we're in a serious situation and do what you can to get prepared for that. I'm going with the rumor of conflict in Venezuela. I'm only concerned with the possibility of it affecting oil prices. And from my understanding, Ghana, I think it's pronounced, or Ghana, the country bordering Venezuela, and they're in dispute because that country has found a lot of oil reserves and natural gas reserves, and Venezuela is trying to claim that. And Venezuela now has closer ties to Russia and the BRICS nations than they do the United States and NATO. So that definitely could spread out, I think, and cause some turmoil there, and it could definitely affect oil prices. We'll have to wait and see about that. But more than likely, it probably will, because Venezuela is trying to take control of the other land mass, the other area that has these oil reserves. So definitely could spread out into a conflict there. And again, we see Venezuela being backed by Russia and the BRICS nations, and Ghana being, I think it's what's pronounced, backed by the United States and NATO to the south of the United States. So definitely could affect oil prices. How about prepping automotive-wise? Parts, and more importantly, developing skills to fix it yourself. You can buy books at most auto parts stores like Advanced Auto Parts and things, or you can order those online that go into detail about most vehicles. And newer vehicles are more difficult to work on because you have a lot of electronics, computers, and things like that. But you can buy books that details everything about your specific vehicle. So look into buying those, and you might want to take some classes and things, and volunteer your time to work and help, just to learn maybe, and learn some skills about working on automobiles if that's what you want to do. And it's definitely a good thing to be able to do. I'm not a mechanic myself. I can change my own oil filters, tires, air filters, and things like that. But as far as going in and taking the computer of the vehicle out and replacing it with another one, that's beyond me right there, actually, also. So I'm not a mechanic either, but I can do the basic maintenance on my vehicles. I can change oil. I've changed transmission fluid before, tires, and brakes and things like that. But if you get really into complicated things like the computers and things, and taking the whole motor down, taking the camshaft out, pistons and things out, and putting those back in, That's beyond my capabilities also. But if you want to learn that, like I said, you can get books about your specific vehicle. You can also take classes at colleges and things like that, at high schools and things. You can volunteer to work maybe in a local garage and learn. You won't get paid nothing, but you'll learn some skills. And how and with what, when to secure first floor glass windows. There's I forget what it's called now, but I saw it on Amazon before, and it's like it's real thick, and you can see through it, but it goes over your windows, and you can peel that off, cut that to size, and peel the back of that off. It's like a screen protector pretty much, but it's for your windows. And put it over your window, and it will keep it from breaking as easily. However, home windows aren't made to keep people out. They're made to keep, the cold out and things like that. So even if you do have, that film on that window, someone can still break through that pretty easily because it's not really made to keep anyone out. But if you want to secure, your first floor windows and things, you can get like 2x4s. Measure windows. I already have these made already. And the 2x4s goes wide ways. You have your 2 inches here and your 4 inches this way, and you build a frame, the perfect size for your window, right? And then you take that and put plywood on the front of that frame, and then you have your holes already drilled through that frame, those 2x4s that frame is made out of. And when you have them already on hand and ready, you just take that and set that right into your window frame and put screws right through that, all around that frame into your homemade window frame. Put the screws into your window frame around your window that you already have in your home. You seal that up. You can cut out a slot in it also to be able to see through that. But that's the quickest way and the cheapest way to secure, windows. Build that frame, have it already ready, set that in, have a battery powered drill that in, the screws, long screws into that, and you're pretty well secure as far as your windows goes. And the last question is, how and where to build a sandbag? Shelter indoors, no basement. And I'm not really sure what he's meaning here. I think he's talking about a sandbagged shelter maybe, or what the sandbag. And the best place, in my opinion, for sandbags in your home would be around your windows, because you need to be able to see and maybe shoot out that window. So if you can build that, in front of your window for protection, and the sides and the back, and you have your defensive position set up at that window. You don't want to be right in the window because you're easy to see, but you want to be back from that window. And if you're back from the window, it's more difficult to see. But you can see out the window still yet, and you could take, and use that as a position to defend your property. But you see people on movies and things right in the window with a rifle or shotgun barrel, actually out the window, and people can see you good that way, can return fire. But if you're back and you're sandbagged up, it's a better position, and it's more difficult to see you where you're at, and more difficult to figure out where you're shooting from. However, inside a home, if you're shooting something like a 308, 223 shotgun, it's going to be loud. So some earplugs, ear protection might be something to think about. But if you're in a combat situation, it's not going to really bother you like it would if you just target shooting. But it still will damage your hearing. Anyway, that pretty much covers all these questions here, I think, today. This is a long video, about an hour long actually. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to do that. My voice is giving out now. I've talked so much in this video. But if you haven't subscribed, do that. Give the video a thumbs up. Leave a comment below. What you think. If you have anything to add, you can do that. And I will put some links in the description box below, like to the Pale Horse book, and to the Behold a Pale Horse, and to the video on the avoiding thermal detection. If I can find that video. If I can't, I won't post it. But if I can, I'll post it there. And thanks for watching. In the Creekmore Matter, and I'll see you all in the next video, hopefully.